Good evening, everyone. This meeting of the Hingham School Committee is called to order. It is 6:31 on November 10th, 2025. This meeting is being held remotely or in person as an alternate mean of access, public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and all applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may be informed of all other participants of said recording. Is anyone else recording the meeting other than Harbor Media? Please let me know. No? All right, thank you very much. I'm just going to pass the microphone over to John Mooney for a second.
I just have a statement to make about Annie Krog, who passed away. We received notice yesterday. She was a teacher at Kids in Action for 24 years. She was the team lead at the Plymouth at PRS for Kids in Action. Through 24 years, I'm sure she had an impact on many families, and I'll speak quickly about the impact she had on my son. On his first day of school in the integrated preschool in Foster last year, she was the first contact we had with Hingham Public Schools. And she got a shy boy who only talked to his dog to get into school and start talking to other people. But she was the beginning. Made him find Scooby-Doo every morning, got his day going, and he's thriving in Hingham schools, in my opinion, now, and she was the first contact we had. When the new school started, when kids started going to the new foster school, he was very upset, as were other kids, because there's a change. And she told all the kids that this school was built for you. It's your school. It was built for you, and they were so proud of that. And that was her words. She had a way to get the kids to open up and smile and be happy and the tantrums would go away. And she was just wonderful. It's sad when we lose anyone in the community, but this was so sudden. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in August. And now she's gone. I'd just like to thank her for her 24 years of service and for her family for sharing her with the Hingham Public Schools and Kids in Action for 24 years. And just always remember to say thank you to the teachers and everyone that interact with your kids, because I know Annie did a great job with my son Patrick, and God only knows how many maybe thousands of other kids across 24 years of service. And thank you. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, John. We hold the Krog family and all the staff that knew her in our thoughts as they remember Annie. I'd just also like to take a moment to say that following the lead of our Student Veterans Appreciation Club, we just want to offer our sincere gratitude to all our veterans, past and present. Thank you for your service, your dedication, and your example. Additionally, I want to thank all the members of the leadership team and the staff that are here tonight, given that our meeting is the night before a holiday, so thank you. So moving on to our first order of business tonight is item 2, which is approval of minutes. 2.1 held on October 27th. So anyone has any discussion on those
I'm
minutes?
going to ask if we can table those
Sure.
until next time.
Absolutely, we can do that. All right, so we will move on to item 3, which is, sorry, I'm not used to the microphone in here. Item 3, which is questions and comments. This is the portion of the meeting that we've set aside to take questions and comments on items that are unrelated to things on the agenda. If there's anyone in the audience or online with a question or comment, if so, please raise your hand and I will be happy to recognize you. Is there anyone online? If you wouldn't just mind, I have to read that statement. If you would just bear with me for 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I usually like to ask first before I go in to read the long statement, so. The Hingham School Committee encourages community engagement and welcomes questions and comments as agenda items are discussed at the meeting. In addition, we have set aside up to 15 minutes at the beginning of the meeting for comments or questions that fall under the purview of the school committee and are not already on tonight's agenda. If any guests wish to speak, please raise your hand, state your name and address, and address your comments to the chairperson. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and must relate to topics within the scope of the responsibility of the school committee, as established by Mass General laws. The responsibility of the school committee are to 1, select and evaluate the superintendent, 2, review and approve budgets for public education in the district, and 3, establish goals and policies for the schools in the district. Speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner and to consider the privacy interests of others. The public comment period is not a time for debate or response to comments by the school committee. The school committee is not adopting or endorsing any of the comments made during the public comment period. In addition to this public comment period, the school committee practice provides time for questions and comments from the public on new business items on the agenda. So if you wouldn't mind coming on up to the podium here, give your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is it's been 3 months since I first requested a meeting, and I still haven't heard back from anyone. According to the Hingham Public School Policy Manual, it is the general goal of the Hingham Public School District to foster relationships with parents/guardians which encourage cooperation between the home and school in establishing and achieving common educational goals for students. It goes on to say that the district is committed to sustaining effective, accurate, and meaningful communications that facilitate dialogue, encourage involvement in district programs, and create community advocacy for its public schools. As stated in their policy manual, the school committee affirms and declares its intent to maintain two-way communication with citizens of the community and encourage consistent communication and feedback in partnership with the administration, families, and residents to keep schools connected to the community they serve. The manual goes on to say that every effort will be made by the school committee, the superintendent, the staff to fulfill the responsibilities inherent in the concept of accountability. So in summary, the fostering relationships with parents, encouraging cooperation between home and school, maintaining two-way communication, and being held accountable. These are the policies in your manuals. With all that said, I hope you can see why I'm perplexed as to why no one has contacted me in the last 3 months. I honestly, and with all sincerity, don't understand. I truly don't. What do I need to do to make an appointment with the superintendent's office? Can someone please help me? Can someone please communicate with me? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience that have any questions or comments? Is there anyone else online? No. Okay. Okay, we will move on to item number 4, which is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Jen. So on Wednesday, October 29th, the Hingham Public Schools received the exciting news that 4 potential future projects were accepted into the Massachusetts School Building Authority into the Accelerated Repair Program. The 4 projects submitted included the South and Plymouth River School roofs, and both a roof replacement and heat pump conversion for Hingham High School. Acceptance into the program means that HPS can proceed with pursuing schematic designs for each project and can bring proposals to a future town meeting for further consideration. MSBA typically reimburses districts 30% to 40% of the total cost of each project. and wanted to thank Aisha Opong, Executive Director of Business, and Matt Meehan, our Facilities Director, for their work on the MSBA applications. On a related note, the newly formed 2025 School Building Committee met for the first time on Thursday, November 6th. This appointed group will be charged with supporting the district on the 4 projects named above. So we're grateful both to the School Building Committee members for their willingness to share both their time and talent in support of the district. Wanted to share a few Hingham Ed Foundation updates. Wanted to first and foremost thank all who volunteered, including some members of the committee who volunteered and participated in the annual Hingham Education Foundation Spelling Bee this past Sunday. In addition to being a great display of academic teamwork, the event also serves as a major fundraiser for Hingham Ed Foundation. HEF, as it is fondly called, has announced that they will continue to support the Thinking Classrooms initiative for yet another year and will extend their reach to support the Thinking Classroom approach to support elementary mathematics. I had the pleasure of moderating the 3rd grade spelling bee yesterday, and the challenge words that stumped some of our expert spellers included the words delicious, hippopotamus, and the winning word was the word quotable. As Jen noted, this week, in addition to several school-based Veterans Day ceremonies, I attended one today at South School that will be taking place across the district. Members of the broader community are also invited to the town-wide Veterans Day ceremony at Town Hall tomorrow, Tuesday, November 11th at 11 a.m. As has been our tradition, the high school band will participate in the ceremony honoring Hingham veterans. Next Thursday, I hope you will all mark your calendars for opening night of the high school drama production of The Drowsy Chaperone. The production is described as a musical within a musical, in which a 1928 musical comedy comes to life. The show features humor, witty dialogue, and dazzling dance numbers, and hope you will come to support our all-star cast in this fun-filled show. And then finally, it's been an incredibly busy week for fall athletics. So our teams last week had an exciting week with several cross-country athletes participating in the MIAA Division I championships. We had girls volleyball, girls and boys soccer, field hockey, and football, all participating in tournament play last week. And this coming week, we have girls soccer playing on Wednesday against Musconetwood Regional in the Final 8. Field hockey playing Canton in the Final 4, and football playing Malden Catholic in the Final 8. So congratulations to all of our teams, and we look forward to an exciting week of play.
Great, thank you. Congratulations to all of the teams and everything. Sorry, I just froze here. 5.2, student communications, we don't have any. 5.3, are there any other communications from the committee? None? Unfinished business. Does anyone on the committee have a problem if we move up agenda item number 7.3 first? No? So we will do 7.3, which is to receive an update on world language assessment data.
You're not sure?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do that, I just wanted to make sure I could get it. There we go. There we go. Very good.
What's that? Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Stacy and I am currently serving as the Interim World Language Department Director of Hingham Public Schools. I'd like to start by thanking you all for the time this evening to share the results from the school year 2024-25 Seal of Biliteracy testing for the Hingham World Language Department. So to begin, the qualification requirement to earn the seal is for a student to demonstrate their skills at the intermediate high level. This means that the student could make use of their skills in a professional setting. I took some time to look back into the history of taking the stamp exam. Some I'm familiar with, and other I had to do some digging. And in 2019 and 2020, the school year 2019-2020, 49 students in the class of 2020 earned the seal out of the total 132 students who took the test. That was otherwise 37%. Today, in 2025, we've awarded 103 students out of the 140 who took the exam a designation of either the seal or the seal of biliteracy with distinction, and that is equivalent to 74%. We saw an increase there of 37% in performance of our students qualifying for the seal in the last 5 years. Students must demonstrate and are demonstrating a proficiency level of the intermediate high that I mentioned before, or higher in some cases. There's an opportunity for students to retake at least one skill if they didn't qualify in a particular domain, being reading, writing, listening, and speaking, but it must be done within 90 days. This chance to retake, of course, continues to encourage resilience and, of course, a sense of personal improvement. We had 20 students in the class of 2025 who received the seal of biliteracy with distinction, alongside the 83 students who earned the seal of biliteracy. This is a total, as I mentioned before, of the 103 students of the 140 who tested in the school year 2024 and 2025, again, 74%. Another way of looking at this data, which may help on the following slide, is to see that the 103 students that earned the seal or the seal of biliteracy out of the 283 total members of the class means that again, taking into consideration the entire class of 2025 being 283 students, 36% of that class earned one designation or the other. And so in order to put this in perspective, looking at other districts to see how DESE comparable districts list, we see that our 36% of our graduates compare here to 3 of those districts to get a sample of this data. Hingham, the data that we have for Hingham has not been reported yet to DESE, but we do plan to do that going forward. Looking back at the data, as you can see here on this particular slide on the chart, we have exceeded all numbers dating back to the 2021 results. You can see the breakdown of the seal and the seal of biliteracy with distinction over the course of 2021 up till present day 2025. Certainly worth recognizing. So now for a breakdown of data by proficiency target. The chart shows the distribution of students here testing at an intermediate mid, which is earning a 5 or above in a final course. And for clarification, a final course example would be Latin 4 or AP, French 5 or AP, Chinese 4 or AP, and Spanish 5 or AP. The data includes student stamp scores as well as scores on the AP exam taken in 2025. During the 2024-2025 school year, grants from DESE have allowed us to test more widely. Last June, I had the opportunity to fill out for the first time the FC 0189 application, and in the fall we discovered at the beginning of the school year that we were awarded this funding, as you may remember approving it a few weeks back. So in addition to testing our senior students, these funds make it possible for us to test in grades 8 at the middle school, or grade 8 in the middle school, and then grades 9 through, of course, our seniors, grades 11 and 12. With district set proficiency targets for each course, we can continue to check, monitor current student progress and the results that accompany. In Spanish, the yellow column on the far right reflects the 2025 composite score by course compared to its previous 3 years' worth of data. I'd like to note that reading and listening scores often remain higher scores across all of the languages. As I'm sure you can imagine, the receptive skills often develop first amongst our student learners. Speaking and writing are the expressive skill sets, and they are understood to take longer to develop. Novice learning classes, especially to note, it's not uncommon for there to be a gap between the receptive and expressive skills, and the data does remain consistent with previous years. And then lastly, in many cases, the composite score does show consistency and similarity in the previous year's data, and scores that were lower, the differences were minor and can likely be attributed to a variability in our learner because the group of students being tested was different from the year before. And then similar to our Spanish composite score data, you can see here French has its data. Again, the reading and listening scores often remain higher scores across all of the languages, still staying true that the receptive skills prove to develop first. Speaking and writing tend to develop longer, as we mentioned, and again, still common to see the gaps between the receptive and expressive skills. Data does, in fact, still remain consistent with previous years. And lastly, as in previous school years, an instance where a score was lower, the differences were minor and can again be attributed to a variation in our learner. Next up is Chinese. So in Chinese, we were not able to offer Mandarin Chinese at the middle school and consequently not at the high school for the first year learning due to obvious role changes. Chinese data remains in line or even slightly better in some cases with previous year's data. Particularly, you can see the AP Chinese score. And finally here, you see for Latin, AP Latin had a notable jump in reading from previous year and years, as well as a good deal of consistency against most all courses. And then on the next slide, you will see for additional comparison purposes, we'll find the nation or worldwide comparison data, and this does include Latin as well. So you can see on this side the comparisons with other, quote, test takers around the world, which is deemed as the United States as well as international schools. This chart here that you see is available for both the years 2020 to 2021, as well as 2022 to 23. Avant published much of this information to address a big overarching question of how do our Avant stamp scores compare to others. And this information presents averages of data aggregated and is intended to provide a general perspective of how large groups of test takers perform on the Avant stamp test. And for most recent purposes, I opted to show the 2022 to 23 data because it did include Latin versus the 2020 and 2021 data did not. So you see here, again, Latin included because Latin did not start taking the stamp exam until 2021, particularly the Avant stamp exam. And this is to take note at the secondary level. Next, you'll see a slide regarding students with IEPs. This information took into consideration students, all students last year who took the STAMP exam and were on an IEP. Numbers have slightly improved from the last report of data. The reason for this is that teachers do continue to teach towards proficiency. This means that there is an effort to focus on what a student can do with the language, communicatively, being reading, writing, listening, and speaking, over strict rote memorization, grammar, and grammar in isolation. Students who may not meet a particular benchmark, teachers are encouraged, of course, to review the data from the previous year on this student, coupled with their IEP to determine the most appropriate approach to support the student within the area of need. And then for next steps, the goal remains for us in world language, of course, student growth and improvement within their language learning experience. Next steps also include providing time and space for our teachers to create authentic and meaningful purpose to our world language students and promote a sense of reality to their language learning. Again, sticking with what students can actually do with the language. We'd like to continue offering professional development, whether it be in-house or out, proficiency-based particularly, conferences wherever, however, whenever possible. In an ideal situation, again, of course, sensitive to budgetary restrictions, understanding expansion may not always be possible. We strive to explore offerings possibly at the middle school for Chinese and or Latin. And of course, this would help to additionally develop the skill sets earlier on, as we see with our Spanish students. The foundations, of course, of second language and culture learning begins with our elementary program, and it blossoms into their secondary experience. We can see this data. It's capturing a good deal of our results and the success in the world language program at Hingham Public Schools.
Great.
I thank you.
Thank you very much, Stacy.
Thank you. Impressive.
Yes. Let's see, is there anyone on the committee that has any questions?
Can I ask a really random question? Sure. I'm just wondering if Hingham allows for our ELL students who are FLEP, former limited English proficiency, do we allow them to take the exam in their L1?
Yes.
So they can also get, even if their coursework in Hingham doesn't reflect?
Yes, we
Okay.
do. Yes, we have and we do.
Oh,
yes.
good.
Not only allowed, but encouraged.
Yes. We begin with, the obvious being that we offer, at the high school, French, Spanish, Chinese, and Latin. But just recently, I had a student inquire about Lithuanian.
No.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Nope. Great, thank you. Okay. We're gonna see what else we can move up on the agenda next. Buses, yes, 6.2.
Not the adjournment part.
Nice try, Michelle. All right, if no one has any objections, we move up. 6.2, to receive an update on electric bus lease and act as appropriate. Trying to get you out of here early.
Good night. So the last time we met, we discussed the electric buses, compared the costs between the electric buses and the diesel buses, and we were hopeful that we would get additional funding from the Massachusetts grants. We did not qualify for those grants, and we didn't get those grant funding. So Porrick and I went back and we pulled all the data from the past years on diesel usage, repairs on the diesel buses, and we tried to use an escalator of like 3% over the time to compare the cost of the diesel buses to the electric buses. Highland did give us an updated cost of the buses, given the fact that the grants did not come through. which is a little bit more competitive than the last time. And when we compared that data between the cost of the diesel buses to the cost of the electric buses, we do find that the electric buses are still, the pricing on it, particularly for next year, where the pricing is only $8,000 per bus, to be a lot more competitive, and we save almost $200,000 from going that route. So we recommend to the committee that we move forward with the buses, the 10 electric buses going forward, given the fact that it'll save us some in terms of going the route of electrification, and in terms of the numbers, even the numbers for trying to estimate the numbers for electrification versus diesel buses. Because we're going to enter into a contract, the electric buses are more definite in terms of having that contract and knowing exactly what everything will cost us, versus going the route of diesel, where there may be fluctuations in the market in terms of diesel pricing, in terms of repairs and other costs as well. And in terms of the fact that, I think just even in terms of the fact that next year we have such a big savings in terms of the buses, that will help our budget in a big way. So we recommend that we move forward with the electrification of those buses. And we ask the committee to give us a vote on that, because we promised that we would come back to you, depending on how the grant funding would have gone.
Just a quick clarification, you're looking at the 7-year lease, not the 6-year lease?
The 7-year lease,
Okay.
yes.
I think we're processing. Hold on.
I'm just having a hard time reading the
Yeah.
spreadsheet. What, can you just explain why the 7-year lease versus the 6?
Please speak into the mic.
I'm having a hard time reading the spreadsheet. Can you just clarify why 7-year versus, why are we recommending 7 versus 6?
The only reason why I included, because our current buses are 5-year leases. Our current buses are 5-year leases, and we, what I did was I gave the 5-year lease, and on the 6th and 7th year, I'm assuming that we get a new group of buses again to update the current lease, because we have to compare like to like 7 to 7. I didn't want to compare 5 to 7, because the electric buses that I'm suggesting would be 7 years. With our diesel buses, it means that we restart again on the 6th year with a new set of buses. And I'm estimating what that cost will be, although it's not a definitive cost, it's just kind of an estimate of where it may be in the next 5 years' time. Does that make sense, no?
I think so. So sorry. The reason you're recommending 7, so do we have the option to choose a 7-year versus a 6-year lease with Highland?
With Highland, we do have that option,
And the
yes.
rationale to
Yes.
choose the 7 years, it is cheaper
Exactly.
cost, if I'm reading that correct.
Yep, exactly.
Is there any chance if we, I'm not being facetious.
No.
I mean, they just lowered their costs when we didn't get the grant.
Mm-hmm.
We say no, is there any chance they come back with a different deal?
I don't think so, just
I know
because,
I know
yes.
you don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure, but I know that they've been working with us on this, because for them as well too, in terms of most of those other companies, they've been working towards the expansion of electrification for a while, and with the change in policy, with governmental policy, it means that they've had to pivot, and that's one way that they have pivoted for us. The next year's pricing has not changed. I can ask them if they will be a little bit more competitive in terms of the pricing. I can go back and ask about that, but I think the question largely is, would we want to move forward, given that it is a savings for us anyhow?
Did I ask one question?
Of course.
Then we have to
There's no
decide tonight.
expiration. There's no expiration to the deal.
Okay.
This has been open for a while, since when we had spoken at the last meeting. The only thing for us, it's just two things for us. One is budgetary. We're moving forward with finalizing our budget numbers right
Sure,
now.
sure.
Secondly, we want to place an order for the buses. Even if a lot of the funding is going away, Porrick can attest to the fact that we need the lead time to place the orders to make sure that we can get the orders back in time for July, because there is backlog in that. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit as well.
I mean, we were originally to get the buses in December, the 3 electric. Now we're looking at springtime, April they're
Right.
talking about.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping that doesn't get pushed again. So if we order buses in, what's this?
November.
December. These buses have been ordered since springtime.
Right.
So you add another 6 months to that again. So you're looking at September, October of next year.
The buses we'd receive on this lease are 2025 or 2026?
2026.
Okay.
Brand new.
And with regards to repair costs for electric buses, do you have any ideas, or do they take care of
I
that?
mean, everything will be warranty.
Okay, great.
I mean, yeah, the brakes, we'll be responsible for brakes and tires.
And wipers?
But mechanical, I mean, the motor, the electrification, any of that, it's all under warranty.
If you place the order tomorrow, what's the chance that they wouldn't come in time?
I can't guarantee you that.
Okay.
Can you just, because you just said, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. You just said that if we ordered tomorrow, based on the current timeline that we've seen with the original order, we're into September, October of next year. Are we already running, remind me the lease schedule on our diesel? What happens, I guess, if we were to order them and it got pushed till, even if we order them tomorrow?
Right.
And it gets pushed to March, what does that do to our fleet? Are
Right,
we
and-
covered
yeah,
through?
I mean, the one
how
good
does
thing
that-
about, not the one good thing, but one of the good things about this whole process is that we're getting the lease buses and the electric buses from the same company, from the
Vivo,
Vivo,
yeah.
the Vivo. So we'd have to go back to them and see how we negotiate that extra time. We don't have exactly all the information right now because we need to figure out, okay, will we be placing the orders first of all? If we do, then we can go to say, okay, when will we get the bus, and then we can negotiate from there. What we're basically asking the committee in terms of looking ahead, looking at it from 10 feet high, in terms of the fact that we have a huge savings from going in that direction. And if you give us the go-ahead to do this, Porrick and I can move forward to try to see how we can negotiate our way, or make sure that to make sure that we have the buses that we need and within the margins that you've provided as well for September and for December as well.
I support that. I don't really see another option. But can we work it into the deal where if the buses aren't ready, that they will extend the leases if it's the same company?
Yeah.
Okay. I just think it would be disastrous if we got to September
Right, I
and
don't
didn't
think
even have a way to get the kids to school.
Yes,
10 buses.
no.
Can you, I'm sorry to be annoying about this.
Yeah,
Can
no,
you
you don't.
just clarify, because I'm trying to find the old spreadsheet, which was 2 weeks ago that we looked at it, or 4 weeks ago, I can't find it.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty significant,
It should be in the folder from 2 weeks ago,
okay.
right? Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to
Folders.
pull it up.
Right.
it was what was
I
the
wanna look
cost
at it,
savings
too.
that they, because the last time we looked at it, the dialogue was, this is going to be a
right.
really difficult decision
Yeah.
if we don't get the grant.
Right.
Because we're going to have to make a decision that we're
Yep.
going to likely have to pay more money. Like, I thought it was like a significant amount more money with a savings in year one, but
Right.
overall, the estimate, so like, did
So
they
there
cut
are
it in
so there are
half?
two things that Porrick and I
not
did,
here.
right? So we did two things. Number one, we got a decrease in the cost from Highland.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing that we did is that Porrick went back to look at the actual cost that we paid for just the diesel buses for last year, in terms of how much we paid over the course of the time. And we adjusted the actual fuel cost, given what he was able to pull together. One of the things that we had included in there was like the cost of the fuel in the summertime. So we backed that out of there, so that we really streamline our analysis in terms of the diesel cost itself. as well as the repair cost, and we tweak that a lot in terms of the cost of those as well, right?
I'll go now. So I just want to make sure I'm reading this spreadsheet
Yeah.
correctly. So the big savings is year one,
The biggest savings.
and then
is
it's
here.
really
Yeah,
pretty much flat
right,
over
exactly.
the next
Exactly.
6 years. Okay.
Without the grant.
I mean, either way you go, we'll just have to make it this week and just change the budget and numbers based on however you go. In terms, if you decide not to do this, you don't have to feel pressured into doing it. That's fine with us. I mean, we'll just move forward with the diesel, right? So you don't have to feel in any way that you have to do this.
Well, you're our experts. You're recommending we move
Yeah.
forward as soon as
And it
possible.
saves $200,000.
Correct?
Well, 13 electric buses is a lot. You know, there's a certain risk involved, there's no question about it. But my concern is, and I could be wrong, you have a guaranteed set price on electric buses for 7 years. That cannot be adjusted. We got these buses in 2022. They were 96,000. A bus right now, diesel bus, is, I believe, 137,000. In 5 years' time, what are they going to cost? We don't know. We don't know what diesel fuel is going to cost. Parts are continuously going up. Labor is going up. So I can take a projection of diesel costs for 7 years. It could be double what I project. While the electric buses, we know this is what we're getting. It can't be adjusted. I mean, but
Can you go back to your first statement, though, that there are, because I just, and you weren't here 2 weeks ago, which is totally fine, but I remember, and Aisha sort of spoke for you, but, you know, when we met a year ago or whenever, a while back, you were pretty concerned about, put the budget aside, which is really important. You were concerned about kind of the efficacy or ability for the electric buses to, you know, be able to go distances and, you know, will they hold up in the cold weather? And it sounds like you're kind of over that concern.
I agree with you 100%. No way was I interested.
Yeah, okay. So you've evolved.
No. But when you talk to people that run them on a daily basis, I mean, in different states, not just in Massachusetts. I mean, Maine is a lot colder than around here. And there was two minor issues that have been rectified. One was with the chargers, and the other was with the heat. And they all said that's all been rectified. The thing with the chargers is, in the beginning, chargers were new. Nobody knew exactly what chargers to use. With Highland, I believe it's 2 chargers they use right now. So they have, you know, they have a lot of experience with this. So they know what chargers work, what don't. So from listening to everybody, am I a lot more comfortable? Yes. I have driven it. They're beautiful to drive, they're powerful, they're quiet, they're comfortable. But, you know, there's a risk. I mean, don't pretend there's not. You know,
And the risk is that, I just want to clarify, I just want to, I'm trying to just understand, what is the reason to not do, I'm not suggesting we shouldn't do this. I'm trying to understand the argument to not do it in your mind. Is it because that actually gas could be super cheap for the next 7 years, and so we end up paying more for this than we need to, or is it more concern around efficacy, or is it something else?
I believe the electric is, like I said, that's set. Yeah, diesel could go down, but diesel could go up. Parts is going up. Labor is going up. The cost of the vehicles themselves is going up. So, budget-wise, I feel electric buses is our best option. So we don't know what, diesel buses give trouble, give plenty of trouble. So there's a risk there, you're getting a whole new fleet.
And we've had diesel buses where we've had to Porrick has had to call them and say, can you just please come for your bus? Because it doesn't work, or just tow it back to the supplier, right, or the vendor. That has happened with the diesel buses before. So I'm saying there's even a risk with that as well too, in terms of whether.
I think when I say a risk, I know my diesel buses. I
Yep.
know what can go wrong, and you know what you can do with them. Electric, you don't know what's going to come up.
Yep.
It's new territory.
Yes, exactly.
I
But
will,
we still have 12 diesel buses.
And we're also buying, we have to buy seven new diesel buses this year too.
need 7, all right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, to Matt's point, but I just want people to know, because we're looking at the spreadsheet, but others who are just listening aren't, but the cost that you have for fuel and repairs over the next 7 years for the diesel buses is pretty flat. It's not like this $200,000 savings isn't coming from, we're anticipating diesel prices are tripling over the next 7 years. Like this is, or repairs are going to go up. So these are very relatively conservative. I don't think repair costs are going to go down. Diesel prices could go down, but how much? So I mean, I just wanted to point out that this is relatively conservative estimates on what the diesel buses would cost.
And even if our diesel buses as well, we're getting them brand new. So in terms of repair costs, usually the repair costs that we have for these are changing tires, changing brakes.
Yeah.
By the time we get to the 7th year, then we're really ready to get rid of the buses. So our costs are not very high in terms of repair for the diesel buses. So that kind of is reflected in the information provided to you as well.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Or can I ask one more
You
question?
can go for it.
Maybe one more. So if we were to say no tonight or in 2 weeks, which my guess is we won't, but does that mean this is off the table for, like, I don't really understand, I guess, for a while it was tied up in the grant, we needed to make a decision. Is this like next year, we'd have to wait a year to sort of go back? Like, wouldn't Highland, I mean, they're in the business of trying to sell this stuff.
Right.
Which, just to be
Yeah.
very, like, my open book, I'm like, my main hesitation is like, from that first speech.
You bring up a really good point.
I felt like a sale,
Yeah.
I just, from Highland. And
Yep.
that has just like been and the numbers have changed throughout. So like, I guess sorry, I'm a little bit tangent.
No,
Explain
but,
to me where I'm coming from.
if you don't mind me interrupting
Yeah.
you, but it was, because this kind of reminds me of going back to our subcommittee meetings where it was, we would do the 3 buses, see how that went, and then we had the 10 buses. It became urgent because we could get that grant money. And that kind of, to me, it felt like we were pushing for that because that grant money was available, and now that's not necessarily the case now. So is that?
Yeah, I guess my question is,
what
if we
why
let's
are we
say
still rushing, I
agreed
guess?
to say no
Yeah, I mean,
what would that mean?
And it's okay. You don't have to
No, I
feel
know, but-
pressured, right?
Oh, Katie's got a
I guess,
question too.
yeah. Well,
Actually, Maura had a comment. I think for me, the data that is new is we now have other districts that are further along their journey that are raving about the buses. And so again, Patrick, I do think was an extreme skeptic to begin with. And his recent conversations, particularly with districts in Maine, districts on the North Shore and so on, that are further along in their journey, I do think has made our skeptic, has really changed his thinking. And so that for me, that piece of data is important, that other districts are further along in this journey and are all in.
I mean, if our goal is to get to zero emissions, I think this has given you a huge opportunity to advance to that goal. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there is a deadline of January 1, 26
Yep, no, that too. I mean, the grant funding,
for the grant.
the grant funding
I'm
is
not
not going to
sure.
last.
I know there is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the date is.
I mean, the other thing that has been changing as well is that we don't know we didn't know from the federal government exactly which way they're going on this either. That is not something that we wake up every day knowing precisely how it's being organized and how it will be determined. Changes, it has changed over time as well, right? So even in terms of Highland providing information to us, their first contract was okay, maybe we will get the buses on your behalf. And one of the contracts that you approved, but I didn't move forward with yet, was for us to obtain all the money from the grant and then hold on to it and place, that was just too complicated. So I didn't move forward with that. So there are things that I haven't moved on because it was just a little bit more complicated. If you go back to the earlier meetings where you approved transactions with Highland that I haven't moved forward with either, just to make sure that we were more comfortable with moving forward.
I just have a quick statement. First of all, if the chair is looking for indications, I'm with Tim. I will vote for this. Second, there's a part of this cost that's not captured in these numbers. A zero emissions vehicle is healthier for everyone in Hingham, everyone in the area. There's no cardiovascular side effects from breathing in nothing coming from an electric vehicle. There's no increased cancer risk from using a diesel vehicle. There's no asthma or allergy triggers from using an electric vehicle versus a diesel vehicle. Diesel fuel and vehicles are 20th century technologies. And I'm sure the 3,596 kids who are looking towards the future would like to be driven around in electric buses that aren't putting their parents, their siblings, their beholden to oil interests and the fluctuating prices of the oil market run by a cartel in the Middle East and other places. But I will stop there. I'm in support of the electric buses. If the chair is seeking any indications from me.
Tim, do you have an opinion you'd like to share? Or an indication you want to go?
I'm looking at the business manager who is saying that this will be significantly cost saving and a safer bet. I don't know if you're saying that, maybe Patrick is saying that.
I mean, I guess I'm asking, do you guys want to go to a vote on this?
I would move to go to a vote. I think holistically speaking, and to John's point and Patrick's as
Yeah.
well, if we're looking holistically at the town's overall carbon emission goal by 2040, this works towards that. It saves the school money. And if we don't do it, the option is to lease the diesel buses anyway. So that's kind of our decision is which one.
I guess the only thing I'd add is as we've gone through budget weeks before and we see that the percentage of the cost of the schools that are staff and staff salaries, and we want to both hire as many staff as we can to do the work with our kids because that's where the work happens. And as we enter negotiations, be able to make a good faith argument that the money we have is the money we have. I think it's our responsibility to minimize the costs that are truly under our control.
Yes, I agree with that. I guess that my hesitation, I am not convinced of the cost, and that, so
Yep.
like that, I guess, is,
Yep.
just to be very clear.
I would agree with Matt on
hear
that.
the-
I would agree with Matt on that.
absolutely the moral argument, and I absolutely hear and agree with the moral argument, and I hear the financial argument. I'm ready to vote. I just am not convinced. I'm not convinced either way. Just to be clear, I'm not convinced electric is the wrong way financially, but this is not a clear-cut story
Yep.
that it will be financially better. I think in year one it looks like it is significantly, but the out years it's not clear. Is that? I guess I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Is that a fair statement, Aisha? Right. There's a lot of assumptions, and that's not a
Right.
criticism. There's . Assumptions when you're.
So to be clear, and just to reiterate, in the first year, we have approximate, and I think we have, the first year is probably where we can we can estimate best, because we have closer to where we are now in terms of the diesel buses. And then there's a savings of $225,000, right, in this first year of the buses. In the out years, even where there are, we don't have as much of an increase, the deficit is, from what we're showing, doesn't exceed $25,000 in any one year. But again, just to say that we're estimating the cost of fuel in there, and we're estimating the cost of repairs, right? The cost of repairs, we know will go up, and the parts and everything else. In terms of fuel, the magic ball does not tell me exactly what fuel will be in the next few years, right? Over the last few years, we've seen diesel prices go way up, and sometimes come down. But in terms of, I can't predict that one, right? But I can tell you where we are now. Do we get some of the more competitive pricing because we buy it using a collective group in terms of how we buy our diesel? So we will get probably the better pricing, and that's what's reflected here. So the pricing here for the diesel is actually most competitive, right? So I can't see it dropping like way below where it is right now, but there's a possibility it may go up. That's what I can see.
We do have, if everyone in the committee is okay, if I take a question online.
Yeah, I do just want to point
Before
out, because
Michelle, go ahead.
Sorry, because even what Aisha was just saying, I'm sure we're all looking at the same spreadsheet, but all of the savings is in year one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want people to think like we're saving $200,000 every year. It's literally all in year one, and then the out years, it's costs a little bit. We have a deficit one year, a little bit up the next year. So I just want to be very clear on that.
I mean.
But we don't know, to me, there's a lot of ifs in the out years.
Yes.
Right, I guess the biggest if is really fuel pricing. That's the only if there.
Right.
And in terms of fuel pricing, it wouldn't drop to zero for sure, right? And in terms of where we are, the fuel pricing, it's very competitive now. So I can't see it falling to half the price of it is right now, right? And that's the main area that is where there's risk in terms of the diesel costs, right?
Anyone else have anything before I take?
Yeah, one more, sorry.
Okay.
And just because, do we know that the repair cost for the electric vehicles is very similar to what it would be for a diesel?
For the repair cost part of the contract, they absorb the repair cost as part of the contract.
Including tires,
Not tires.
brakes?
Yes,
That's what
yes, just the
that's what I'm,
brakes,
because
yeah.
there's no line item for repairs.
Right.
On the electric buses. So do we think it is similar to what you're estimating, what you would estimate?
Yes, in terms of that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't know if the braking
Right.
system was different or,
Speak to the braking system.
That's going to be a warranty. That's part of
That's
it.
warranty,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, your brakes, your regular brakes, obviously, we have to do that in the tires.
Mm-hmm.
But any mechanical, as far as electric buses go, outside your general wear and tear,
Mm-hmm.
is under warranty.
okay.
So but the other stuff is pretty cost comparable, the
Yeah,
same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, the thing is, braking system. Your ABS module is goes. That part alone is $5,000. So
Okay.
you don't feel spending a lot of money on buses. And if we can avoid them costs by going electric and getting as much of it under warranty as possible, I mean, that also helps.
All right. All right, I am going to, Diane DiNapoli, do you have a question? If you just state your name and address.
Hi, Diane DiNapoli, 16 Gardner Street. Can you hear me okay, Jen?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, great. I guess this is a question for Aisha. I don't know why I always find these electric bus conversations so interesting. When you did the model showing the 200,000 saving the first year, were you considering the changes in what I guess would be HMLP rates? I know, didn't those muni rates go up at the beginning of the year? So how are you projecting your electric rates in that model for the first and then 7 years out?
Diane, thank you so much for your question. I appreciate it. So the electricity will also be paid for by Highland Capital, so it's not a cost that we would have to bear ourselves. So it's absorbed into the contract as well.
So we don't pay anything for that electric?
No, we don't pay for the electric. It's absorbed into the contract price as well.
And we're putting the connectivity that might be needed to charge them, that's all paid for by Highland?
So in terms of Highland, so for example, as an example, the first 3 buses that we have, the infrastructure has already been put in place for the first 3, and that would just be expanded as part of the cost that we're projecting here also includes infrastructure.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we wouldn't be charged for the charging, the electricity to charge them?
It's all part of the cost. Yeah.
Okay. All right, any more questions online? Anyone in the audience? Jacqueline? Sorry.
Don't go too far. Hi, Jacqueline Beaupre, environmental science teacher at the high school. Diane's excellent question kind of invalidates one of mine, but I'm still a little curious on a couple things. One, can Hingham Public Schools negotiate different electricity rates than rather ratepayers?
So in terms of, for HMLP, we don't get significantly different rates than other ratepayers. So even, for example, our schools right now, we're able to, like most Hingham residents, if you pay by a certain time frame, you get a huge discount for paying in advance. But we don't have any other big benefits from using our local light plant. Yeah. Yeah.
I also just wanted to point out that I think Hingham basically pays other communities to use their green energy, like to use solar, wind, nuclear, things like that. But it just externalizes those emissions because Massachusetts is still producing some of their electricity with fossil fuels. So it's not our community necessarily that's going to have more greenhouse gases, but other communities are still going to be producing them, and we're just kind of moving the money around. But I think one very obvious, clear difference would be when diesel buses are idling. We would not have those emissions in the place where all the kids are going to be waiting. So that would be one very clear, obvious difference in air quality. Cool.
Yes, I remember that from our field trip when we went out there, and all the kids I think they were coming out, and they had all the buses when we were in, I don't remember what town. Beverly. You could clearly notice the difference that there was no smell whatsoever, because I think they have almost all buses, all electric buses, and that was the one thing I could tell. Huge difference.
Also very quiet.
Oh, yes. Okay. I think we are ready to vote. Okay. Do I have a motion?
You can have one in 1 second. I will make a motion to authorize the Executive Director of Business Services to enter into a 7-year lease agreement with Highland, is that the name? With Highland, as outlined in the spreadsheet attached to our package.
Thank you.
I will second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Nope. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No? Okay. Do the no's want to be recorded?
I've never known what that means.
So this is what I got from an advisory. This is what they do. So when you ask if you want to be recorded.
In the minutes.
In the minutes.
In the minutes to reflect.
Yes.
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 I don't have a strong feeling about it, but I have no problem being recorded.
Yes.
I think it's a difference between, it was 6 yeses, 1 no versus Matt Cosman said no.
No, I said no. I was no.
Oh, you
I
know,
was no.
okay, all right.
Are you being recorded?
I'm being recorded.
I'm fine to be recorded, yes.
All right, put your names. All right.
All right. Moving on. No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much. Now I have to find out where we are in
So it's past 5
Yeah,
to
we're
2?
agenda. Yes,
6.1.
Passes.
motion passes 5 to, motion passes. All right, Is there anyone else who is here tonight for an agenda item that we need to move up? No. So we will move back to unfinished business 6.1, which is to discuss MASC, MASS resolutions and act as appropriate. We started with these at our previous meeting. We made significant progress, and I think we only have 2 or 3 left.
It's 2. So, so.
And I'm going to pass it over to Carrie because she's been leading the charge with these on these.
It was a responsibility of voting on them.
The responsibility of voting on these at the conference for us. So I believe it's the last
So it's just, I think it's
3, last 2.
It's the last 2, the personal financial
Yes.
literacy and the establishment of a regional school assessment reserve fund.
I feel like there was, hold on, I'm on the wrong folder.
So, yes, I put them in the folder. The personal financial literacy one, I found a couple of bills that are working their way through. I just thought it was interesting to see how they've been moving this forward. I know last time there were discussions about unfunded mandates and, not having curriculum and things like that. It looks like some of those are addressed in the legislation that's being proposed. So I thought it might be helpful to just take a step backwards, though, with these resolutions, because we talked about it last time. It doesn't obligate us to do anything. I guess if this passed, then we would have to do it. But it's more, do we think it's a good idea, rather than, and through the legislative process, you kind of hash out how is it funded, what's the curriculum, how's it actually going to happen. Obviously, we want that addressed. I felt better looking at those bills, though, because there is some, there is funding attached. It's being proposed, and they're specific about what it would look like. And one of them was looking into financial literacy for all residents of Massachusetts, too. That was kind of a good idea. I think it's an important issue. So I support it, but wanted to know where everyone else was standing after we discussed it last time.
Although one of my favorite education memes is a student, like a college student talking with his friends, and he's like, I don't know how to do my taxes, but I do know how to square dance, which always cracks me up every time I see it. But I do struggle with the fact that it's an unfunded mandate, and if it continues to, if it ends up being an unfunded mandate.
But the bills they have funding attached. Like one creates a trust, the other one creates a fund.
And that's passed the legislature?
No. This is what they're working through.
Okay. So
And it's the first thing in each bill is the funding. So,
okay. I
And there
think,
hasn't- yeah.
yes. The only other thing I get to is, who's teaching this? How is it getting fit in? We still only have 180 school days in a 6.5-hour school day. That hasn't changed since 1852. Where do we fit that into the school day, right? What, are we getting rid of something? That's the only thing I don't know. So I struggle with those 2 things.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I felt better when I saw the legislature that's working its way through and the funding attached to it, but my biggest question would be, how are we fitting it into the day?
I think kids don't have a learning curve with finances because right out of high school, they're making probably one of the largest financial decisions of their entire life in terms of how they're going to pay for college. So I think financial literacy is, we'll just say it's much more important than square dancing, which, by the way, was started by Henry Ford as a way to protect the people from the evils of jazz music.
Really?
I love a good square dance.
Fun fact.
Yeah, there are so many, schools are asked to do so many things over the time. This seems important, though, for kids to come out with a working knowledge of finances and how to pay taxes and, where to, taking out loans and avoiding predatory.
For me, this would be strengthened if they would adjust perhaps the math standards to integrate it in a way that was clear where we're integrating it. So we've already seen, for example, the impact of civics, which is a worthy, very worthy endeavor that squeezed out American history. So I do think, for me, it would be great if Desi would help inform where in the standards this might fit. Math might be one area, but then making appropriate adjustments to the standards to allow for this. So.
Which is why no one knows the history of why square dancing was taught in school.
Exactly.
You can stop showing off now.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
So we have a couple options. We can vote on it, we can not vote on it, we can vote no action. What are the people feeling, or do you want some more discussion?
I'm fine with supporting it based on what Carrie was saying, that these are just, suggestions. We do not have to do anything with it.
Okay.
I support this.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
John? Yeah, I'm fine with sort of supporting it. Okay. Motion? Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to support the personal financial literacy education resolution at the upcoming Mass Conference.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, the next one is the regional one?
Yep. Establishment of Regional School Assessment Reserve Fund. This obviously doesn't impact us since we're not a regional district. But what they did is they took Mass General Law, Part 1, Title 7, Chapter 40, and they're proposing inserting a Section 13F, and there's some language in there about it. This is, the language that they took for this, it pretty much mirrors the Special Education Reserve Fund, which we have. It's to fund unanticipated costs. I guess that can happen with regional assessments as well, and they're just to stabilize their budget. The language is very similar to the special education one. So again, this doesn't impact us. Might be nice to support the regional districts that are struggling with this.
Any discussion?
I mean, I think typically we have not.
We typically have not
action on-
supported the regional
Well, not
ones.
supported, we just haven't taken, we just haven't taken action on that because we don't.
We have
know
not participated in supporting what Michelle said. We have not taken
We've not taken
action.
action.
But given that this is Silver Lake, we thought maybe we would.
That's right. Yeah, and it's something that, again, it doesn't make any districts do this. It's something, it's like the special education fund where it gives them a tool to do it if they want to. And they decide it's not gonna, it wouldn't make anyone do anything.
And it doesn't create, us supporting this doesn't create the fund, it supports MASC and supporting other,
Yes, yes.
It's a little bit more removed than that. We're not creating a fund with this vote.
Correct.
No, definitely not.
This one's a little bit even more
Yeah.
different than the other regional ones.
Yeah.
Right. Is everyone okay voting on this one and not taking no action?
I am.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right.
All right, do you want a motion? You ready for a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the establishment of a regional school assessment reserve fund at the upcoming Mass Conference.
I will second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay. All right, next up is 6.3 to discuss revised FY26 KIA fees. And act as appropriate. Aisha, welcome back. We promise it'll be quicker.
It's okay.
We'll have a bigger table next meeting.
I beg your pardon?
We'll have a bigger table next meeting.
Oh, that's okay.
She's
It's
happy not
perfect
to
the
do
way it
this.
is, actually. In terms of the last time we had a meeting, we provided a KIA and integrated pre-K fees. This is just an update from that in terms of we hadn't included a cost for an after-school 11:30 to 6 for the preschool program for KIA, and we just wanted to come back to you with that costing as well. So this is what this here provides. We only provided before and after school, given the 7 to 8 for the before school, and the after school was only from 2 to 6. But there will be a group of kids who will be ending school at 11:30. So for those kids, we want to provide KIA after-school support from 11:30 to 6. Okay.
And I would just add, this is in response to feedback from families seeking this, so parents of 3-year-olds looking for this option, so.
That's great. More options for families. Is there any discussion or questions? No? All right, motion.
I'll move to approve the tuition rates for Kids in Action Integrated Preschool After-School Program for preschoolers from 11:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the 26-27 school year as proposed.
I will second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 6.4, which is to discuss the revised October 1st enrollment numbers.
Yes, so thank you, Jen. I wanted to acknowledge that reports such as the enrollment update have humans who are behind them, and wanted to acknowledge Sherry Robertson, who each year prepares this October 1st enrollment and also prepares our monthly enrollment updates. And we were missing Sherry this month while she was out, and did have a couple of updates to make, and appreciate Sherry's support in updating that. So the primary updates to the October enrollment, and this is important data that we use in our year-over-year projections, wanted to identify that the pre-K at Foster had been included in the K-5 total, and so there was a double count there, and so we made that adjustment, and wanted to note that the out-of-district number is 49. So I believe, Sherry, those were the primary adjustments to be made, so thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Is there any questions?
Only about whether Sherry's allowed to go on vacation again.
Nope.
Yep. All right. If there's no more questions, we will move on to very exciting new business to receive November 1st enrollment update.
Yeah, so once again, wanted to thank Sherry for her work on this. And we generally do not see huge changes from month to month, but do note them. And so we did have a net gain of 4 students since October 1st. So.
Well, welcome to the district, to those 4 students.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, there were some classes that were like, or certain sections that grades, I guess, getting close to bumping up to hitting our ratios, right? Did these 4 students enter into any of those? Like,
So we are still okay. So we do.
I'm sure we didn't
yep.
trip it. I just didn't know if they actually like got us even closer.
We have not, and as you'll note, underneath the actual grade level breakdowns for each of the schools, we do note the section numbers.
Yep.
And so, for example, one of the grade levels on our watch list is grade 3 at Plymouth River at 24, 24, and 25. So we haven't tipped the balance there yet, and we are keeping a close eye on grade 2 at South with 25, 24, and 25. So,
All right. Any more questions? All right. Thank you for that update. All right. We will move on to item 7.2, which is to receive a quarterly update from South Shore Educational Collaborative.
Great.
And
Well,
I think Katie will do that for us.
As a member of the South Shore Educational Collaborative Board, one of my responsibilities is to report back to the school committee with a quarterly report on the collaborative doings. So just a reminder to the committee that we do have approximately 12 students currently at the collaborative, and any given year we might have 12 to 15 of our students attending a range of programs. SSEC has 4 main programs, the community school, the mini school, the Quest Elementary and Middle School, and I had shared with the committee last spring that they have merged what were previously two separate programs into one integrated program, which is Social High School and Careers High School merged together. And so as part of the update, wanted to share that as of September 2025, SSEC currently has a total enrollment of 292 students enrolled full-time, primarily drawing from the member districts such as Hingham. Other districts include Braintree, Cohasset, Hull, Marshfield, Milton, Norwell, Quincy, Randolph, Scituate, Weymouth, and Whitman-Hanson. The program also will host students on a temporary basis for what are known as 45-day assessments through the STARTS program. And I had last spring shared the current tuitions for SSECs. I included that again in your packet. And the tuition is available at a discounted rate for member districts. Non-member districts can tuition into the collaborative as space allows for the higher rate of tuition. And again, appreciate SACC's partnership.
Great, thank you very much. All right, next we have is 7.4, which is to discuss an out-of-state trip for Hingham High School drama students to New York City in May of 2026, and act as appropriate. Erica, you?
Yep, so this is an annual trip for our high school drama club that will take place between May 1st and May 3rd. They're going to go to New York for 3 days, and they'll see 3 Broadway shows. They'll also participate in a couple of Broadway workshops, and should be a good time for all involved.
It looks great.
I'm jealous. I want to go.
I know, it looks good.
Such a good trip. I am shocked at the inflation, though.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I would bet most of that is related to the ticket prices.
They will be seeing The Outsiders,
Oh, I was going to ask.
Maybe Happy Ending, and The Play That Goes Wrong.
Stay gold, pony boy.
Do you want to ask him?
Do you want a motion?
I think Ally or I have a
I
question.
have a quick question, and I don't know if this is just an administrative update, but on the top it says no field trips are to be scheduled during May and June. And this one's May 1st through 3rd. I feel like this has come up before, and it was just the way it was worded.
And I think that when we've discussed this in the past, we've said we should take this off the form. And I think that this is just not the most recent version of the form.
Just making sure.
Because the most recent version of the form doesn't say that.
Okay, perfect.
Then I have no questions.
All right. Still take a motion.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the out-of-state field trip for Hingham High School drama to New York City in May 2026. May 1st.
I will second.
Second. Any more discussion? No? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion passes, and have a great trip. All right, next up is 7.5 to discuss out-of-state trips for Hingham High School boys and girls hockey. I will be filling in for Jim Quattromoni this evening, presenting the trip for our high school girls hockey team, which will be to St. Albans, Vermont. So anytime our teams head out of state, we do inform the committee of that. And similarly, the high school boys hockey teams will be playing in both Hanover, New Hampshire, and Burlington, Vermont, in a single trip. Any questions? All right. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the out-of-state field trip for Hingham High School boys and girls hockey to St. Albans, Vermont in December.
I will second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion passes, and have a great trip. All right. Moving on to 7.6. I'm not going to read this entire thing.
In your auctioneer voice.
We are going to do a first read of a long list of policies. We're going to start with the first policy, which is competency determination policy, and I'm going to pass it over to Ally, just asking that as she reads the title of each policy, as she goes through each one.
Absolutely. So competency determination is IKFE, and I see we're scaring away our audience. And I'm actually going to pass this one over to Erica to present, but just note that these are all first reads, so don't be alarmed by the number of them.
Don't be alarmed. So this first draft of our competency determination policy reiterates the course.
Is there any way we can get a copy of, because can we put this one on the screen? Is there any way, Sherry? Is there any way we can get it up on the screen? Just this first one? I just know we haven't. Just the first one. Just the first one?
We're interested.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I thought I meant to ask this earlier. It is 7.6.
It's 7.6. It's in a separate folder.
It's policies.
There it is.
Perfect, thank you. Just this, yeah.
So DESE
Sorry,
regulations require that in order to graduate,
Oh.
So anybody at home will not see it if they're watching through Zoom.
Thank you.
all right. So DESE requires that in order to graduate, students need to fulfill two sets of requirements. One set is our local graduation requirement, which is listed here at the top, but there's no changes to that being proposed here. And then the second part are the competency determinations. This is the role that was previously played by the MCAS exams and is no longer going to be played by MCAS exams, which is why we have to have this new policy. To begin with, students who have already earned a competency determination through the MCAS continue to have that competency determination. There's no additional action needed for those students. And this policy really only applies to students who have not yet achieved a competency determination. So through a lot of discussion with Dr. Bucky and the directors of the various content areas, we've landed on the following requirements. That students will need to complete either English 9 and 10 or a multi-year sequence of small group or CLC English based on individual need, so adjustable by length depending on what students need. A 2-year sequence of Algebra 1 and Geometry or a multi-year sequence of small group or CLC Math, again based on individual need. Biology 1, and then beginning with the class of 2027, US History. A student who is not able to meet the competency determination through the courses that we offer can seek permission from the high school principal to pursue credit through an equivalent Edgenuity course. That's the program that we typically use for our credit recovery. And then the principal may, on a case-by-case basis, review a student's transcript and determine if there are other courses that a student has taken that could constitute a reasonable equivalent. Will probably mostly come up in the case of transfer students. So when a student transfers to the Hingham Public Schools during their high school career, the principal will conduct a transcript review and ensure that the coursework from the previous school is aligned with the high school coursework from Hingham High. In terms of students with disabilities, we wanted to put in the policy that discussion of the competency determination must be a part of the IEP team's transition planning. And in addition, again, this part goes along with state requirements. Students with disabilities who have been placed in out-of-district placements must meet the requirements of the competency determination policy of the Hingham Public Schools as determined by the out-of-district coordinator or their designee. Finally, when it comes to our English language learners, we wanted to leave the high school principal with the authority on a case-by-case basis to determine appropriate courses necessary for English language learners to meet the competency determination requirements. And finally, all students can appeal their graduation status. We were talking graduates from as far back as 2003. They can do so by appealing their decision to me.
Thank you very much. Does anyone in the committee have any questions for Erica?
I have a couple. Just when you talk about based on individual need, who determines the individual need?
So this will have to be a conversation with the IEP team.
Okay.
And what we're looking at is breaking down the standards that are required for the competency determination based on the last testing of the MCAS exam, and allowing students and teachers sort of to build a record of achieving those standards over time. And so that conversation will have to happen between the educator and the student and the family throughout the course of their high school time.
Okay, so I'd almost move towards like a portfolio model, kind of? Okay. Is there, just in the case of transfer students, if a parent disagrees with the determination of the principal, is there an appeal process to the assistant superintendent?
There is.
Oh, right. I thought that was in there in the small print. And I think that's all I had right now.
So the small group or CLC based on individual need, who makes that ultimate decision if the students met the requirements?
So we'll have a process of documentation that will look similar to a portfolio. And I think we're not looking for the teacher to actually present, for example, me or whoever, with a portfolio of things that say that the student has done this, but to be able to demonstrate through documentation of what they've been doing in their classwork, and then, assessments that student has then completed, that they'll be able to demonstrate that the student has met those standards.
Okay, so the teacher then pretty much would be deciding?
So, sorry, the teacher will be deciding if they have met the standard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And then for out of district, this is determined by the out of district coordinator. Are there going to be any parameters or some kind of procedure to decide? Or is it just a judgment call or? Sorry, this is under students with disabilities.
Yes, sorry, just want to see exactly what it says again.
Okay, yeah.
This is not, to be honest, that different from the way that things function now. So I think that what will happen is similar to what we currently do for a transcript review, which is traditionally done by the out-of-district coordinator. So I think that same procedure will work in this case as well.
Okay, so this already exists?
Yeah.
Great.
Matt?
So I just want to understand a little bit more about the multi-year sequence. I'm just, it's very clear for somebody that needs to take 2-year sequence, Algebra 1 and Geometry, right? Here's what I need to do. I have no suggestion how to make this easier. I'm just putting myself in the shoes of, as a parent that has gone to team meetings, not in this, but early on, there's a lot that I don't know what to even ask, and we're sort of focused on what about this year. And now this introduces this sort of somewhat ambiguous, again, I'm not saying it's the wrong way, but, multi-year sequence of small group that, I'm thinking of a parent, I don't even know what I would, after year 1, would there be a discussion of well, are we on track and how many more multi-years do we need to do?
Happy to speak to that, Matt, and thank you for the question. So we've already been working with Dr. Panarisi very closely, and she has had eyes on this as well as our special education team. So this will be a major focus of the 8th grade transition meetings as we're looking forward, looking ahead to high school. And to Erica's earlier point, we do have a number of tools that we can use to document in a portfolio of sorts. Goalbook is one example of a tool that we have that actually is a way to document standards mastery over time. And for students in small group math, for example, they might be stretching out those algebra standards over a year and a half, and then stretching out the geometry standards over a year and a half. And so some students might meet the math competency over a course of 3 years. Students in our CLC might need a bit longer. So they might stretch out the algebra standards over 2 years and stretch out the geometry standards over 2 years. So it will be an individualized approach, which is appropriate to these small, very small groups with an expert special education teacher. And we have been having our small group special educators work closely with Mary Andrews, our ELA director, Dave Jewett, our math director, and working with our general education teachers and to really drill down into those 9-10 grade standards and stretching them out over time. And so that 8th grade transition meeting will be very important, and then each re-eval after that, and each meeting, team meeting after that will be important.
That makes sense and that's helpful. And I just, again, having not personally gone through the high school piece, would we say that this is going to cause, I don't have a sense of the MCAS requirement and the stress it caused students that, you know, would follow this path versus this? Like, do we think this is going to be
Very comparable.
very comparable?
Very comparable to where we were before.
Yeah, I think that the students who will be in those multi-year sequences are likely to be the same students who might have taken several attempts at the MCAS.
Yep.
It's a relatively small group of students that require some specialized attention.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I think you answered this and I'm just confused. Because on some level, the individual needs decisions live in the team meeting, and in some level, they live with the directors. I mean, the one real distinction I have with that is that in the team meeting, there's sort of parental voice as an equal member of the team, and I'm just wondering where that lives, because it seems like the parental involvement is the big piece that's very different in both of those.
I'm happy to speak to that. So I do think that any good team meeting has data. And so I think the data that we'll be introducing in team meetings is evidence of that portfolio and the work towards mastery. So
Perfect.
I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
Yep.
And I have a really stupid, nitpicky question.
Sure.
The U.S. history, is that specifically referring to a U.S. history survey course or any history course that encompasses U.S. history? I imagine there are some senior electives that would fall under there aren't. Okay.
No, we only offer one U.S. history course.
Okay.
So it's that one.
Okay. Square dancing?
There is no square dancing.
Yet.
Growth mindset.
It's the theme of tonight.
No, I'm good.
I'm enjoying watching Jacqueline crack up.
Thank you, Erica. And just,
I think to do.
Go ahead.
Jacqueline Beaupre, president of the Hingham Education Association. I just want to quickly mention that as a staff, we're starting to have deep philosophical conversations about this, and especially I think for science, because biology is a one-year thing, whereas math and English can be stretched out over multiple years. So we're going to need some time in professional development to figure out how we can proactively build a portfolio for our CLC students to show that demonstration of mastery within a one-year timeline. And will DESE actually approve whatever we come up with for that portfolio demonstration? And then just in the mind of our educators, we're also struggling with what happens if for example, a CP1 student fails their final exam, our CLC student passes, they don't have an IEP, they don't have a team advocating for them, fighting for them to have proven that they've met mastery. What happens? We are in the middle of this dilemma, moral, ethical conversation right now. So it's not as easy on the educators at the moment. So
Those are great questions, Jacqueline. And if it's okay, I'd like to address a couple of them. First of all, passing of the final exam is not part of the competency determination.
For the course.
It's passing the course with a passing grade. And then DESE does approve use of Edgenuity, which is an online program that can be used for credit recovery. So that is a path forward for students who might not pass biology on the first try. And the credit recovery sequence does not necessitate the student retake the whole course. It's a mastery-based approach in the credit recovery where they can, in the same way we'd be building a portfolio for other courses, Edgenuity will be a great tool to support those students. And again, it tends to be a very small number of students, but the fact that we do have, you're only as good as your Plan B, and so that is a Plan B for those students that can support them through that.
Do we know who's going to be shepherding those students through that process, should it happen?
Yes, so we have, we have a couple of paths forward for students. So there is the opportunity to complete that over the summer, but it could also be kind of an independent study type model. It will depend on the needs of the student, so.
Okay.
And just wanted to say that we will continue to monitor, as we did for MCAS, monitor the cohorts of students in front of us. And the same way, if we had a cohort who didn't pass MCAS, we would provide interventions and resources for those students. And so we'll take a similar approach with this.
We do. And I just wanted to add to that, we really appreciate, Erica, all your work on this and all the directors. And I know there has been a lot of thoughtful conversations that did focus on how this would impact the teachers and add to your workload and, you know, kind of how this would all play out in reality. It's one thing to put it down to policy, but how it would actually work. So they have been working very hard to consider that.
I just had one more thought as I was walking away. In thinking about final exams, how we devalued the component of the final grade, like it went from 10% to 5%, something like that, and seeing students not take those exams as seriously, might need to revisit that too. I don't know.
Diane DiNapoli on Zoom. Do you have a question?
Hi, yes, sorry, Diane DiNapoli, 16 Gardner Street. As a parent who has a sophomore with fairly acute special needs, that this is something that has been keeping me up. So I'm glad to get a first look at this. Just a sort of a point as someone who has a child in CLC and various different special ed classes. I think the data collection and benchmarking is something that the staff could use some PD on just in general. And now I think this is going to be more relevant when you're looking at using this data for graduation requirements. So I'm a bit concerned, to be honest, that it seems like it's going to be somewhat subjective. And I think kind of to Tim's point, I mean, to Matt Hausman's point, I could see this being a little challenging for most parents walking into IEP meetings. It might be something to consider when you get through massaging this a little more, to add something maybe in the notes that it's standard practice at every IEP meeting moving from 8th grade on. You know, is the child on target to pass with a graduation requirement? At what time, based on tests they've already taken or assessments or portfolio, just so both sides of the table sort of have a good understanding of where are we, what needs to happen, and just to have that firmed up, because it can be very confusing. You know, this is obviously super critical that it's clear, communicated, something in writing, and data fidelity, especially when a child's on modified curriculum, becomes very challenging at the best of times. So I'm hoping this might kind of move that, you know, better data makes a better IEP, makes it more likely that a child will graduate, and that's really important. So thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, Diane.
That's a really good point. And I'm not to assign more work to anyone, but I'm wondering if CPAC would be willing to host some kind of professional development for parents that are facing this, because it is overwhelming already walking into these meetings, but then this is a big change. So.
And wanted to just thank the CPAC board, who has been very much part of this discussion. And I know that we did have a conversation with them once this was voted on by the committee, that we would like to do some parent education on this, and do appreciate Diane's comments. And just wanted to reiterate that in this policy, it does dictate that discussion of the competency determination must be part of the IEP team's transition planning. And so we will incorporate that into professional development, reiterate that with our educators. So.
Yeah, I guess one other thing to think about that is when the team starts doing the transition planning is often when it should be when the student's invited to the meeting too. So just being mindful of that, that you don't want to freak them out, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? This is policy 1.
Policy 1, this is a first read, so we will see this again next meeting. And we do, unless Desi has changed it again, have to have something in place by the end of the year?
Yes.
Is that still correct? Okay. Thank you, Erica. Next, we are going to move let's look at our agenda. We have several policies that are related to the handbooks, and we've just been doing a little bit of cleanup in policy and review with some of the MASC suggested changes, but also around some of the things we've been working on with the full committee. So the first two are CHCA, which is approval of handbooks and directives, and we've redlined the changes that were suggested from subcommittee. There's just a few minor word changes. And then the second one is CHCAE, which is an exhibit in our policy book, which MASC is suggesting some cleanup around as they're no longer relevant. So the second one, the CHCAE, is suggested for removal. If anyone has any questions on those two. And I'll kind of go through them quickly because it is late, but also because they are long, and hopefully everyone spent all weekend taking them in and really digesting them. The second group that we're going to look at now is IGA and IGD, and these are two policies related to curriculum development, and they are actually just combined, the two policies, and streamlined them. So there are some red lines in here, but it's just where the changes where they merged the two policies together, and the new policy would be IGA.
Can I ask why you
IGD.
removed the part about the staff and administration regularly evaluating the program?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Recommend.
Let me remind myself why we did that.
Because I think it was a recommendation by.
It was an MASC recommendation, and it was, if you look to the next paragraph, really to rely on the professional staff to design and implement, as opposed to, just looking at the language above. Yeah, it was just a merging of the wording. There's no real change in it. It was just the two policies were overlapping. Okay, any other questions on those two sets? If not, we'll move to section J, which if you open, and there are a bunch of tabs on the left if your wireless is working. So these policies, again, they're just very minor changes. They are all redlined for you. Some of them is just changing in wording, changes to state law that we needed to update, spelling out some of the acronyms like DCF is now spelled out as Department of Children and Families. And if you scroll through them, I just will point out the ones that had big changes, which is student discipline. There was a lot of Mass General Law changes that our policy hadn't been updated to follow. So we have updated it accordingly. And I would ask that people kind of read through that pretty closely just to make sure that there are no questions before our next meeting. But it is just really following state law. There is no major changes on our end otherwise. The other one is bullying prevention, also just had a couple really minor word changes just to update it. And then there is JKA, which is corporal punishment, which is suggested to be removed. And I believe the rest were just updates to references and some minor changes. The one at the end is a policy related to health. You'll see a few more of these coming to the full committee in the next few months. We've been working with Rebecca Deaton, our nurse manager, to kind of review some of these in regards to updates from state law and also just some outdated language in them. This is the first of that group. It's the very last policy in that J section. It's JLC, Student Health Services. So there are some things that we changed in that, just some language we removed, also some language we updated in terms of if there's an emergency and a family needs to be contacted if a child is sick. Some of the wording was a little bit obsolete or didn't really make sense, so we tried to make it a little more user-friendly. So we changed neighbor to family member, other individuals. We changed some of the titles to administrator throughout. We added designees in some locations just so those made sense in all situations. So that is it, unless people have questions. I know it is a lot, so feel free to read them through in all your spare time and send any questions before next meeting too.
Any questions?
I think I've overwhelmed everyone.
Thank you for going through all that.
You could have done more.
Yeah, we had another pile, but we thought that might be overkill.
Starting at page 1.
Don't you worry. Yeah, we will keep going through. We have, there's been a lot of policy work in the last few years, and there's been a lot coming through just with state law and other changes, so we will continue onward.
So do your homework. And we will do a second read on the 24th, right before Thanksgiving. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up we have is to approve grants and donations. Do we have any?
Yes.
We do. We have a few.
Once again, be filling in for Jim Quattromoni this evening and have some exciting news to share. So as you are aware, this fall, we opened up the beautiful new wellness space, The Dock, through the philanthropy of the Hingham Sports Partnership and related donors. We recently, on Thursday, October 30th, had a very generous offer from a private donor of $30,000 to support the purchase of some additional equipment for the dock. So if the donation is approved by the school committee, Jim Quattromoni has developed kind of a wish list and will kind of chip away at that wish list, and I'm very grateful for this generous offer.
Thank you to the anonymous donor. All right. Motion?
I will certainly make a motion to approve the generous private donation of $30,000 to support the purchase of Phase 2 equipment for the dock at Hingham High School.
I will second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. We have a second one?
We have 2 more.
2 more?
Can I come?
Yes, you may. Do. Absolutely, Barry.
You love a spotlight.
We have 2 other donations. One of them is from Hingham Arts Alliances. They offered a grant to East School's photography class for their art department for $1,200 about. So just asking for your approval on that grant from the Hingham Arts Alliance. Maybe if you give that approval, I'll do the next one as well.
You ready for it?
I am ready.
I will make a motion to accept the grant of $1,200 from the Hingham Arts Alliance to fund 3 cameras and equipment and supporting equipment for East School's photography unit.
I will second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you to the Hingham Arts Alliance.
Okay, and then the third donation was actually for the Hingham Boosters, soccer boosters, who received $200 from Chipotle, and it's going to, the check was written out to Hingham Public Schools, so we're accepting the donation on their part, and then they're actually buying a couple things for the boosters as well.
I will make a motion to accept the donation of $203.39 on behalf of the Hingham High School soccer boosters and authorize the use of funds to purchase guided yoga stretching and training session.
Yes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep. I'm going to abstain on this.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Because you're holding out for him to put the quesadillas on the regular menu, right? Because you're holding out for Chipotle to put the quesadillas
No,
on the
just-
regular menu. No, I'm just joking, never mind.
Conflict of interest. So weird. All right.
No surplus.
No surplus. Okay. We have our next meeting, subcommittee reports. You're all out of order here, so.
I know, we're sitting all
John,
over.
any subcommittee reports? Oh, Tim?
The Human Rights Commission is meeting next Monday, and SNAP Board is meeting next Tuesday.
Ellie?
Nothing to report.
I have nothing to report.
School Building Committee, the original 2017 School Building Committee is meeting on Wednesday. We will really wrap up that committee at some time, hopefully this year. The high school council met last month, I forget the date. It was a great discussion. One thing that came up in the conversation was to start talking more about vocational training and
Don't park behind the kids when they're coming out of
well,
school.
that's the other update. That was school council.
Oh, that's
Start talking more about vocational offerings for our students. So some of the parents on there have some great ideas and are passionate about that. And then Jen and I met with the Student Advisory Council the other night, a couple weeks ago. It was really great meeting with them. They also talked a little bit about vocational and co-op opportunities. They actually came up with an idea to start doing more co-ops. They gave some great updates on I always want to say the climate, but not, well, they brought up the HVAC and the community climate at the school, saying that there's really a lot of school spirit. The community feel is really good. Tardy policy, the new tardy policy is going okay, but they did ask that parents be mindful when dropping students off, that they're not blocking parking spots, because kids are running late because parents are blocking empty spots that the kids are supposed to be parking in.
Because there are assigned spots. They
Yeah.
can't get into their spot.
And then anyway, there were a couple other things that they were talking about, some ideas that they had that I think we're going to bring to the school council and to talk about them.
Wonderful. Great group of kids.
Really great, yes.
Salary negotiations, we had an initial meeting with the Bus and Van Drivers Association last Tuesday. It was a productive discussion, and we're scheduled to meet with them again on November 19th. We also met with HEA Unit E, which is food services, last Wednesday, and we'll also be meeting with them on the 19th. And then we met today for a strategy session. The Hingham Middle School Council, the next meeting is November 24th. For HEF, again, as Katie mentioned, very successful spelling bee. Congratulations to all the spellers. And they also had a meeting last Tuesday and discussed the spelling bee, also their capital campaign. They're going to be sending out letters, emails, and social posts, so keep an eye out for that and support them. They do a lot of great things for the schools. And also save the date for their spring event at Barrel House Z. It's going to have a college theme, and it's going to be on April 11th, 2026. And then finally, I just wanted to mention, DESE is doing a fiscal year 2026 Chapter 70 local contribution study, and there is a virtual public listening session on November 18th from 4 to 7. If anyone wants to, I'm going to go to it. If anyone wants to log in and needs the information, just let me know and I can send it.
No updates for me.
Do you have one that I forgot about? While I'm not on the school building committee, I did attend their meeting, sat on the side and listened in. It was their kickoff meeting. Some great enthusiasm, really great group. I'm really excited for them. They're going to do a great job. It was really exciting to watch them come together for the first time. All right. With that, that's all we have. Nothing for 48 hours. Our next meeting is, like I said, Monday, November 24th at 6:30 p.m. And then just make a note that our December meeting on the 15th at 6:30 will be over Zoom. Item 10 is to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session. So I will take a motion.
I will move to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purposes of approving minutes of the executive session held October 27th, 2025, and to conduct strategy session with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, the public discussion of which would be detrimental to the community's bargaining position and act as appropriate, and if the chair so declares.
I so declare.
I will second.
All right. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.